Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Can I just do a quick sound check with some people? Could you put your hand up or put a comment that you can hear me? Brilliant, thanks. It's looking good. We aren't going to give it very long, just another 30 seconds or so for people to join and for the continued sound check, but I think that's looking good. Quite a few people have been able to raise their hand there, so that's good. Thank you. I'll just crack on with the next slide, please, Karen, and whilst people are just perhaps joining us, I think. So welcome to today's webinar, which is for the providers of the Management and Administration T-level, and thank you again for joining us. My name is Jill Hanson, and I'm one of the advisors, and I'm joined this morning by several of my colleagues from ILM and Sitting Girls, who are supporting with today's delivery and the T-level development itself. As you've come to expect, we are all presenting this from home, so please excuse any unexpected background noise. It is likely to come from my house, I will say. We will be talking for around 45 minutes, and then there will be some time for Q&A afterwards. During our bit, you will be all in listen-only mode. So please do use the chat and the question tabs though on the panel at any point so that you don't forget what you want to ask, and we will address the questions at the end. When you do exit the webinar, there will be a very short survey which we'd be really grateful if you would complete. It will help us with future webinars and other communications that we do with you. And we will also share the video recording of today's webinar on the website as soon as we can. So now I'd just like to introduce you to my colleagues. I know you can't see us, so we've got some lovely pictures there. And as you can see, we're all technical advisors. So Karen and I specialise in leadership and management, Dom in business, and Alison in all things post-16. So we're using the expertise across City and Guilds and ILM, alongside input from specialist consultants, employers and your good selves, to develop the new Management and Administration T-level technical qualification. And we've got a really strong focus on quality, on ensuring that the currency of the content is there, driving up the standards obviously and meeting learner and employee needs, whilst meeting the overall policy vision of T-levels. So we've got some really strong values in there that we're working towards. Could I have the next slide, please, Karen? So yeah, so this is the welcome. You're having it now. And the rest of the agenda, so Karen is going to talk you through the background to the T-levels. Dom is going to then talk more specifically about the Management and Administration T-level. And Ali will talk about progression routes for learners. And then, as I said, there'll be an opportunity for questions at the end. So I am now going to hand you over to Karen to talk about the background. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Jill. Can I just check that you can hear me okay, Jill?
Yeah, that's fine. Very clear.
We were all loud and clear earlier, but technical problems can pop in at any time, can't they? So if you've attended one of our previous webinars, you'll have seen this slide before, but we thought it was just worth sharing with you, you know, what a T-level is and the technical qualifications. So really, government are developing three strands really for post-16 education. A-levels, which is the sort of recognised academic route, apprenticeships, which is very much on the job training, and the third route is T-levels. So we're really, this is the focus for for this webinar, and it's one of those 3 routes. So the key principles is around making sure that that people coming away from school and moving into their next level of learning are developing the knowledge, skills and behaviours that the labour market and employers need. So so that's really one of the key principles. We don't create these in isolation. We're very much working with employers and also with your sales providers in making sure that what we do develop in terms of the technical qualification is absolutely fit for purpose. This is quite a detailed slide, so I won't sort of dwell on it, but you'll be able to view it afterwards. But the T-level programme composition is actually much more than the actual qualification itself. It's a 2 full years full-time course consisting of 1,800 hours over the 2 years, and it does gain UCAS points, which are equivalent to 3 A-levels. So the points are equivalent to 3 A-levels. So you'll now see a big red box, and that's sort of the whole of the T-level, which includes an industry placement, maths and English and digital skills up to level 2, which is equivalent to GCSE level, or functional skills level 2, and employability and enrichment around the whole knowledge, skills and behaviours that are developed. But in that sort of black box towards the top is the technical qualification. And that consists of a core element, which is graded A* to E, and goes through concepts and theories and transferability of those core skills. And that's assessed through an exam, 2 exams, and we call it an employer set project. It's not set by the employer, but it's an employer based project. So working and applying those skills in an employer setting. And then there are occupational specialisms, which are based on the occupational maps which are set out in the qualification. And it's largely a 50-50 split between the core and the occupational specialisms. And that's assessed through a synoptic practical assessment. So just focusing a little bit on the industry placement. This, as we've said, is quite a substantial part of it. It's 315 hours or approximately 45 days, but can last for longer. Employers can offer industry placements in a way that suits them, really, as a one block, as day release, or a mixture of those. And it's very much about the provider working with the employer to make sure that the employer gets what they need out of it, but also that the learner gets what they need out of it as well. So it's very much a partnership arrangement. The provider will help with all of the necessary paperwork to support all of that as well. So the industry placement, as we've said, is quite a key element to that. So that's a quick overview of what a T-level is generally. And John is now going to talk to you about specifically what does that mean for this particular T-level. So Dom, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me, Karen?
I can hear you, yes. So I'll go on mute and hand over.
Thanks very much, Karen. So as Karen said, the T-level programme really for business and admin is built in a very specific way. You can see obviously that Karen mentioned about the completing those core units, those core components, as well as the occupational specialisms. And it's the occupational specialisms that I want to focus on this morning. This particular pathway called management and admin offers 3 of those occupational specialisms. Now, it's important to just point out here in our previous webinar, you may have well remembered that actually we did advertise the fact that there was going to be 4. As of February 2021, the 4th specialism, called Information Management, has now been paused. Now, during our validation meetings with both employers and yourselves, it came to light really that the demand for that particular specialism was quite low. It's therefore been paused in agreement with IFA, and the focus now is on the 3 remaining specialisms. So a learner then therefore must choose one occupational specialism from the 3 to accompany the core components. So just to recap on those core components then from what Karen said, the core knowledge and the understanding is assessed by 2 exams, each lasting 2.5 hours, while the core skills are assessed by that employer set project, remembering that that isn't set by the employer, it is actually set by City and Guilds and not the employer itself. So the occupational specialisms will be assessed via practical assignments, like Karen said, and it'll be assessed over a series of holistic practical tasks relating to that specific specialism. These will take place over a period of time, scheduled really at the provider's preference within an approximate 3-month assessment window. And it's thought that that 3-month assessment window will currently be between February and May. Things are subject to change. This may well change, but currently we are thinking between February and May. So what I want to do now is look at the 3 specialisms separately in more detail. So if we could have the next slide. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it. So the first one we want to look at is the Business Improvement Occupational Specialism. Each specialism corresponds to an apprenticeship standard, so they are linked. So the occupational specialism ensures students develop the knowledge and the skills necessary to be at a level needed to then enter employment in that occupational specialism field. They are organised around performance outcomes that indicate what the student will be able to do, and as a result of that learning and applying that specified knowledge and skills. So the Business Improvement Specialism is aligned to an apprenticeship standard called the Improvement Technician, which focuses on the apprentice working in a team to solve problems. So the Business Improvement Specialism therefore teaches learners about acquiring, analysing data, protecting that data in order to support and improve processes. And it also teaches learners how to engage stakeholders in business processes while continuously trying to improve them. And the final area of this particular specialism is to ensure that the learner understands how to monitor and report the implementation of those business improvement activities. So if we can take a look now at the Team Leadership and Management Occupational Specialism. So the Team Leader and Management Occupational Specialism naturally has a direct link to the Team Leader or Supervisor Standard, which many of you will be familiar with already. It's a really popular standard that's currently out. So the standard then focuses on managing teams and projects to meet an organisation's goals. The purpose of the specialism is for learners to know and undertake team leadership and management work. Learners will have the opportunity to plan, perform and evaluate their work whilst utilising a range of techniques, methods and resources. Specifically, the specialism, this particular one, focuses on the importance of leadership and how to lead, manage and develop individuals and teams to deliver the outcomes, how to build those relationships with colleagues or customers and stakeholders, and to basically ensure operational tasks are planned and delivered, managed and implemented projects accordingly, and apply governance and compliance requirements. So the content of this study area covers a wide range of leadership and management techniques, as well as the theories and models, and the development strategy will work most effectively when there's a mix of all those knowledge, skills and behaviours together. Okay, if we can now look at the final of the 3, the Business Support Specialism. The Business Support Occupational Specialism is linked to the ever popular Business Administrator Standard. So that particular standard focuses on supporting, engaging with different parts of the organisation, interacting with both internal and external customers. The purpose of the specialism is for learners to develop the knowledge, understanding and skills within that business support role. So the specialism is designed to provide opportunity for learners to develop their ability to support the business functions through a range of techniques, including using the business tools, problem solving, project management, etc. So there is clear links there to the business administrator standard. And learners will develop their knowledge and understanding of and the skills in supporting the overall running and operations of an organisation. They'll be using prioritisation skills to support the time management and delivery of workloads, look at considering improvements and recommending ways to develop and improve business practices, develop effective communication within a range of stakeholders to support the business practices, and finally managing the flow of the information throughout the organisation. This particular specialism works well when based on the practical application of the business support needs across a range of different organisations, and learners should be able to transfer their business support skills into any industry sector really. We think business support will be popular, but it's important to look at all three before offering. So just to reiterate at that point then, that a learner must choose only one of the standalone occupational specialisms to complement the core components. But it's important that a centre can offer more than one if they wish. So I'm now going to pass over to Jill, who's going to look at the milestones and where we're at.
Thanks, John. So I spoke earlier, and we've all spoken to some degree about working together with employers and yourselves. And this slide just shows the key milestones in that work. So those milestones are set by IFATE, and at each stage we present the materials that we've been developing with yourselves, and then hold a number of facilitated discussions with separate groups, so employers and providers separately, to elicit feedback, which then feeds into the next iteration. And at each point, we share this with IFATE, who also offer feedback before we move on to the next stage. So we're currently approaching milestone 5 there, and the next provider review and validation meeting is on the 23rd of April, Friday. Karen's going to talk to you a bit more about how you can get involved with that later on. But if you're not already on our contact list, and I can see from attendees that quite a few of you are, there is that opportunity to alert us to that in the post-webinar survey at the end, so that you can join us if you wish, and that would be fantastic. Could I have the next slide, please, Karen? Just a quick one, just to say and get that link in there, that the draft specification so far is available to view on our website. There's a link on there, so if you want to have a look at where we're up to with that development, you can do so there. Can I have the next slide and the next slide? So it's coming later, what's happening next really. So obviously, as you've just seen in the milestones, we're going to continue to review and validate the work as we go through until we reach a point where the materials are fully developed. We will also be working on some resources to support delivery. The conversations about that are underway, but the development isn't just yet. And as we move more into the curriculum planning stage, we'll be offering support for this as well. And we'll offer workshops on the core and the occupational specialisms, and also around teaching and learning support for the exams. So to help you to move towards that delivery stage, we will have a range of resources and support and workshops available. So lots of that coming along the way to delivery in September 22. I'm now going to hand over to Ali.
Thanks, Jill. Can you hear me okay?
Beautiful, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. So this next section really is looking at progression from a T-level. If I could have the next slide, please, Karen. So we referred to the occupational maps earlier on in the webinar. So just to sort of clarify what they are and how they work really. The occupational maps are produced by IFATE, the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education, which was formerly the IFA, Institute for Apprenticeships. But on February the 1st, 2019, two became one and are now referred to as the Institute. So the Institute are responsible for the technical qualifications within T-levels, and that includes arranging the approval of the outline content, issuing contracts to awarding organisations, and approving the final T-levels ready for providers to teach. And T-levels, as Karen said earlier, are based on the apprenticeship standards. The Institute then provides the outline content to the awarding organisation to amplify that content. So really, this sort of slide shows you the management and administration pathway and identifies really the range of opportunities that are available within this particular occupational area. If we could move on, please, Karen. So how will T-levels be graded? Well, students who meet all of the required elements of the T-level will be awarded a T-level certificate. And this will specify the title of the T-level and the overall grade that has been achieved, as well as the attainment of the individual T-level components, such as the English and Maths at level 2, if the student didn't already have those at the start of the T-level. And it will also include a lookup table, and that will show how the overall grade has been derived from the TQ, the technical qualification components for that specific T-level. As well as the overall T-level grade, it will also include separate grades for the technical qualification core and the occupational specialism. So reporting both the overall T-level grade and the technical qualification component grades is seen as being really useful by the higher education providers. And in addition to the T-level certificate, awarding organisations will also be providing a breakdown of marks for the technical qualification, which would typically be in the form of a results slip. Learners who don't pass all the elements of the T-level will get a T-level statement of achievement, which will show that the elements that they have completed. So let's just give you an overall of what to expect at the very end. If I can have the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is quite a bit of information on this one, really. So these screenshots have been provided by the DFE, Department for Education, and show how each component of the T-level will be graded and how an overall grade is derived. So there will be just one lookup table for each T-level, and there will always be the same instances of each grade available in each of the lookup tables. So as you can see here in figure 1, there will always be 6 passes, 6 merits, 5 distinctions and 1 distinction star. To be awarded a distinction star, the student must achieve an A star in the core and a distinction in the occupational specialism. Now, to help T-level students get into higher education, UCAS tariff points have been allocated to T-levels. Now, the UCAS points will only be allocated to the overall T-level grade, and students must achieve at least an overall pass grade to receive those UCAS points. The size and the rigour of a T-level programme is comparable to a 3 A-level programme in size. Therefore, T-levels will attract UCAS points in line with those allocated to a 3 A-levels size programme. Now, this alignment, it's really important that we say is based on a notional comparison of standards with A-levels and other level 3 qualifications. The figure 2 here that you can see, we've got the UCAS points that have been allocated on the left-hand side of that table, the T-level overall grades, and of course the A-level equivalencies of those grades. Moving on. So City and Guilds and ILM already work very closely with employers and industry boards across all of our sectors, but I thought it might be useful to provide some background into our work with universities and higher education institutes. As part of my role, I work with a number of organisations to promote vocational and technical qualifications and really identify those qualifications and programmes that are most suitable for progression to higher education. And of course, this involves working closely with admissions teams and universities across the country. So I sit on the University of Vocational Awards Council Committee for Awarding Organisations, which is commonly referred to as UVAC. And my role really is to provide regular updates on qualification reforms that do impact universities. And of course, this now includes providing updates on T-levels. UVAC is a very large organisation and has over 100 members of universities, and it's been extremely supportive in raising awareness of T-levels to the higher education providers. I've also worked with the Russell Group Qualifications Network and provide information on T-levels for them. And at the last Russell Group committee meeting, we discussed how the occupational maps really fit in to the potential progression routes from T-levels to degree courses. And of course, UCAS sometimes, it's a fairly new for our higher qualifications, and especially for T-levels, the way the grading is worked. But having previously worked as a sixth form tutor, I've been responsible for applications for UCAS for vocational students. So we do have a broad understanding of how the grading for vocational and technical qualifications align with academic, GCEs. And we also, of course, which universities will offer suitable degree courses for progression. Currently, we work with over 80 universities admissions teams across a wide range of sectors. And I think, part of my role will include liaising with those admissions teams and providing information on T-levels for them. If I just move on there as well, Karen, please. Now, we realised it was key to, we're talking about still on higher education really, but so we realised it was key to involve higher education providers early on. So we have already formed a higher education representative group for the management and administration T-level. Now, this group's made up of academics delivering the relevant degree courses most aligned with the management and administration occupational specialisms. As we recognised that employers and providers are very keen to have this validation from universities. Now, the role of this group is to review and to validate the content of the technical qualification within the T-level and the assessments, and with the aim of assessing their suitability for learners to progress onto a related degree course. And of course, this has included, numerous discussions on the entry requirements to HE. And I do really want to let you know that the feedback we've had so far has been extremely positive, with no negative feedback within the qualification and progression routes at all so far. I'm just moving on to my last slide. And of course, this really is giving you an overview of explaining the continuing work that we will be doing, City and Guilds and ILM, to support progression. We understand that this, it's going to be a long, we're going to have to sort of really work with universities to produce these progression mapping pathways. We will have to promote the T-level progression opportunities and raise awareness through the organisations I work with, and that will include, admissions teams, hopefully will be supported by validation from the higher education representative group. How we will be promoting those universities to you, our providers, we'll work with them, and through our City and Guilds website, we will be producing a similar document that we produce for our larger technical qualifications for providers, and that lists all of the universities we work with, and it lists all the progression opportunities available within those universities. And of course, the wider piece of work will be communicating all this information to you, our providers, and our employers. Now, I'm going to hand back to Karen now, who's going to take you through the final slides.
Thanks, Alison. Can I just check that you can hear me?
Yeah, great, thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Thanks, Alison. That was really informative in sort of showing that T levels do have a really good progression route. This particular T level into higher education. So some fantastic news to share with not only providers and employers but parents as well. They will definitely want to know that. So I'm just really going to finish before we sort of open up to questions around, you know, we've talked at you for sort of 35 minutes now, but there's a real opportunity for you to get involved with the development of this technical qualifications. We have had some great engagement so far. But we always need more. So if you haven't got involved so far, it's not too late. And actually, having some fresh eyes look at how we've progressed is often quite a bonus to help us with that. So we're keen to work with all of you really to make sure that this qualification is absolutely fit for purpose. We're also working with employers. So the technical advisors tend to work with directly with providers, people like yourselves, and we've got a team of industry managers who are working with employers. And we, behind the scenes, we actually knit all of that feedback together to make sure that it's absolutely fit for purpose. So your involvement is key, because you are the guys that are the experts in the assessment and making sure that that assessment leads back into the content. So so whatever you want to get involved with, and even if you can only dip in for a short period of time, you know, please don't think that that would turn you away from it. So we're still writing some of the content. Largely, it's there now. We are in this very challenging time at the moment. Jill went through the milestones, so we're still going through each of the milestones and presenting that stage to IFATE. But at the same time, they're feeding back on previous milestones, so we're having to review some of that while we're still developing the next milestone. So it's all a bit crazy at the minute, but your involvement at each stage is really key. Now, I'm conscious I might be over-egging this, so and feel like I'm getting the begging bowl out, but actually we can't underestimate the value of your involvement. So so please do get involved. There's an email address there if you would like to find out a little bit more, or on the beginning of the slides with our lovely photographs. We only looked like that before lockdown, I have to say. I'm not sure we look like that now. But if you want to contact any of us directly and just have a chat about what's involved, then please do get involved. So we've also got lots of support and guidance that is ever evolving, as I'm sure you will know, because this development of the qualification is ongoing. So do go to our website, where you will find lots more information around how we're getting involved with you, the timelines, the different groups that we've got moving forward. We have an employer industry board which is very active with the T level, and we try to keep in touch with you through our preference centre, our communication preference centre. So if you haven't signed up for that, please go to our website so that you get those communications directly from us as we're ready to share the information. So that's how you can either quietly keep in touch in the background, or how you can actively get involved with us as we progress this. So really now I'll open it up to you guys and see what questions we have. Jill, you're the question master today, aren't you?
I am indeed. We do have some questions in at the moment from Ellen. So if Dom has actually already answered one question, I don't know whether you want to go over that, Dom, so that everybody can hear that answer.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So Ellen was just asking, is there any flexibility on the 2-year qual, and has the team leader qualification been adapted to a more appropriate level 3? So with regards to the 2-year qual, I think that's something that we need to go back to IFATE on whether or not they would still achieve UCAS points. Of course, it all depends on how the course is structured and the planning of that course. So we will need to get confirmation on that. As far as the appropriateness of the level 3 is concerned, we are still liaising with the root panel. Sorry, not the root panel. We have liaised with the root panel with the various groups to make sure that the qualification is fit for purpose, and we are still developing. So we understand that you had a thought process that it was rather difficult and that it was perhaps a level 3, level 4. So we are obviously still trying to look at all the feedback and take that on board and when taking that forward. So I think Ellen is the only one so far who has put any questions in.
Yeah, indeed.
So the last question that Ellen has put is, can you state what type of businesses have confirmed that they will be happy to accept 16-year-olds through the leadership work experience elements in? Of course, this does depend on your business links that you've got with your local businesses, depending on where you are, and of course whether or not you choose that leadership specialism. So it's whether or not that business can offer that fit for purpose industry placement that would link to that leadership specialism. And if it can't, then we wouldn't suggest that you offer that as a route, as one of the specialisms. So it's perhaps more about building up the bank of employers which are available, which will take on specific learners, and whether or not they are fit for purpose for the specialisms that we've talked about.
Thanks, Ellen, for those questions and for saying also that that's clear now. That's brilliant. Do we have any more questions?
Just to sort of add to that, Ellen, we have had quite a lot of interest, and thank you. I know that you've been very active in supporting us with the development and giving your feedback, but we have had quite a lot of engagement with employers and with providers in those 3 occupational specialisms. It was the 4th one, the information management, where we didn't have the engagement. And so in talking with IFATE, they agreed that we should pause the development of the information management one. So we do feel confident, because of the interest that from the employer and the provider side, that there is engagement with the team leader management one. It's anecdotal at the moment because we're still sort of 18 months away from delivery, but we are confident that there is that interest in it, if that helps to further give confidence, Ellen.
Thanks, Karen. There's nothing else coming through at the moment. We don't want to sort of keep you here if you genuinely don't have any questions, so we'll just give you a couple more minutes to think in case you come up with anything. But as I say, we don't want to drag it out for you. If you don't have any questions genuinely, then we've done our job. You're up to date.
You can, of course, email after the webinar. There's nothing to stop you getting in touch with any of us for after the webinar. We are working on T-levels forever for the next 2 years until September 22. And so obviously we are here to support. So if you want to get in touch after the webinar, if something suddenly comes to you in the next few days, please feel free to get in touch and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And what we'll also do is add it to the frequently asked questions document that we will put up on our website to support today's webinar, which hopefully should act as a guide that you can check if your question's already been answered before you before you ask again. But support is ongoing. Don't feel as if you have to ask now.
I think we have had another question come through. Ellen, you get the prize for our most engaged attendee today, so thank you. So work experience, is that in the first or the second year?
Do you want me to pick this up at all?
Alison, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Hi, Ellen. So it's industry placement more than the work experience, and it's just to refer to, obviously you've got more than one employer that you can access. It's a maximum of 2. It can be any time that suits the learner. So in most cases, it's likely to be in year 2, because the core really, the idea of the industry placement is to hone some of the skills that they've already acquired. So really, if you have it too soon, they haven't got those skills or haven't got that underpinning knowledge before they go on to the industrial placement. So most of sort of T levels in wave 2 and wave 1 and wave 2 have said that the second year, or towards the end of the first year, and then starting in the second year, but they do a lot of work to prepare them for the industrial placement within the core component of the first year. In other words, behaviours and things. Does that help? That's it, Karen.
Thank you. That was very clear to me. So thank you. Yeah, Ellen's saying thank you now. So
thank you. Yeah.
So if there's no more questions, we may as well give you some time back, and even if it's to go and grab a well-earned coffee. So when you leave the webinar today, what will pop up on your screen is a quick questionnaire. So please do just take a couple of minutes to complete it. It just helps us to improve and to take your feedback so that we can move this whole thing forward. So anything else from my colleagues today?
The only thing I would ask Karen, if possible, and Jill, is if we have any providers that are on this webinar now that already work with particular universities and would like some support in sharing some of the information, then please do contact me, and I'd be more than happy to make sure those progression routes are sorted out for you.
Excellent, thanks, Alison.
And just to point out, Karen,
sorry. Will the presentation be available?
Okay, Jill first, then Dom.
There's just a final question come up. Says, will the presentation be available? And it will be available on the website after the webinar closes. Thanks for that question, Beverly.
And that links nicely into what I was about to say, Jill. Just for those that missed the first provider welcome webinar, if you do want to catch up, there is a webinar archive on our City and Guilds webpage under T levels, management and admin. So please feel free to go and access that. And this is where this webinar will also be recorded to access at a later date. Thanks, Karen.
Okay, so thank you very much for your attendance this morning and for your interest. And we look forward to continuing to work with you. Thanks now. Bye-bye.